Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Man, you guys are getting way too good at this whole Friday surprise thing. What's a Friday surprise? Well, it's like when you think you're going to be talking about one thing over the weekend, and then the next thing you know, it's like you're going to be talking about something completely different. Yeah, it's been that kind of week again. You guys are good at doing that. Everyone's good at doing that. Furries, non-furries, all y'all. You're good at doing that. Hi, cat. Are you passing through? Yeah, you're passing through. Catty. Funny story is that she literally attacked me when she first saw this fursuit. She's like, "Different hell for fig." Now I probably got my scent on this stuff enough where she's like, "Oh, it's just you. You're just in some dopey costume." Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. What we were supposed to be talking about is, well, somewhat related to hurricanes, and somewhat fits because when I published this video, the hurricane of Irma, which sounded off in the Atlantic Ocean and moved across the Carolinas, it looks like it's projected to do a different kind of sounding to Florida. And Lord, I do apologize for that particular joke, but I also, more importantly, hope that you watch over the individuals who hunkered down in that state over this weekend, and also be with those who have evacuated and are probably going to return to a home that's going to be quite devastated. Basically, the premise of what we were going to be talking about was a tweet that Kage did, or Kage or Samuel Conway, or the chair of Anthrocon, made about using fursuits in order to help people in shelters. And, go ahead and work through that. And, go ahead and, help morale boost and stuff like that. And my cat's distracting me again. But, and we're going to go over the premise of that and how it would work, and it's like the benefits and disbenefits. But we're going to have to put that on hold now for a different type of storm, and that's a political storm. So, in the small town of New Milford, Connecticut, there was a recent resignation by a Democrat, an older Democrat individual who is a chairman for New Milford. And they recently were pressured into resigning, and the individual did submit their resignation. That individual is named, hi cat again, bye cat again, Scott Milford. So Scott Milford, now the cat made me, Milford is the town name. Cat, look what you made me do. Cat. His name is Scott Chaplin. The town is New Milford. His name is Scott Chaplin. See what you did, Cat? You made me show the audience that I'm terrible with names. But anyways, his persona name is Gray Muzzle, which if you ask me is a bit on the nose. For those of you who aren't in the furry know, Gray Muzzle is a term for older furry. It's a sort of a slang term for a muzzle that's gotten some gray hairs on it, and basically means that they're of the older persuasion. When I was 20, it meant if you were a furry older than 30. But now that I'm 32, it means a furry older than 35. And when I become 35, it'll mean a furry older than... You can't make me old, dang it! Anyways. But basically, this individual had to resign. And usually, furries don't like to use our actual real-life names unless we know that it's been okay. Unless we know that the person's okay with having their real name tied with their persona. But in this case, the cat's sort of out of the bag. It's been in the news, and people know who this individual is. So unfortunately, the reason they were forced to resign is because of their SoFurry profile. Now, SoFurry is a website in which, furries can post artistic content up onto the webpage. SoFurry historically originally started out as a written fiction archive, but expanded into visual arts and other furry activities. So it literally became a competitor to Fur Affinity, which was more artistic based as well. Because of this foundation, more writers, such as myself, tend to find SoFurry more welcoming to the written arts than the visual arts. and their GUID and everything else sort of aligns with that thing, and their tagging system is actually very robust in making sure that you want to see the content you want to see and not what you want to see. However, recent additions to that particular aspect of the site has been problematic. In fact, to the point where this guy, this Scott dude, literally probably lost his job because of the ambiguity of the SoFurry GUI. And I'm going to go over my hypothesis on what happened now. So when he was talking to the press about the tagging system of the site, he indicated that the likes and the dislikes things, and so I'm going to bring up a thing here that's going to squish me, of the page in which you advance these settings. So there's a tag filter setting at the very top. So to access this page, you need to click the underlined link here. As you can see, it says likes/dislikes with a parentheses of tag filters. So to me, as a user, I'm saying, oh, so this likes and dislikes function, well, it works to help tag my content on the thing. And under the article that came out about the guy's resignation and the interview that he did, he seemed to be under that same impression, that this likes, dislikes things was tied with the tag filtering, or how content would be viewed upon the web page. I'm going to go over why that isn't the case. So this is the web page it brings you to. You got to notice the disclaimer on the top part, which is the active tag filter. Anything you put in that active tag filter slot, you will not see. So if I say sounding, I don't want to see any stories about sounding. Absolutely not. It makes me think of Irma too much. I would put that in that particular slot and then add it to my tag list. And that means I will never see any stories that have that tagged ever. Or if I put in, say, example, rape into that thing, I would never see that ever. The stuff below that is more for RP kind of guys. It sort of is trying to replace F-List. It's trying to act as a competitor to the furry website F-List, which is more of a list your fetishes sort of a web page for people who are into doing that sort of a thing, right? And so here we have, they're trying to take that part of the market with the loves, likes, tolerates, and hates. So the problem here is that, unfortunately, Grey Muzzle decided to put the content tag of rape under tolerates. And that rose many red flags in the political spectrum. And people can sort of understand why from a person looking objectively from a third person perspective. It seems like he's saying, oh, well, he tolerates rape. And, you know, you can understand why somebody in law saying that, something like that, can seem a bit problematic. You want the people in professions that are making social policy to make sure that they're enacting in the best interest of people. And rape is a real crime, and it is a real heinous crime. It is an objectively horrible and horrific crime, probably one of the worst ones out there. It's probably even worse than murder, because at least with murder, you know, the guy's gone. They're not suffering anymore. Rape really leaves psychological and emotional scars on the victim. And it's not something to be joked about at all. And not even like in any sense of case, particularly for those who are victims of it. And so placing that in there, put it in the precarious position. Now, in an asterisk to this, stories that have content of sexual abuse and rape are part of a normal sort of, it's not normalized in literature, but it is an element that can be talked about and discussed in fictional elements. And sometimes talking about it in those fictional elements can help shine a light on those particular elements. There are stories that you read in high school that contain elements to the plot that contain non-consensual interactions, and how it... And the most important things is that a lot of fiction in the standard sense don't glorify it at all. Usually it shines a horrific light upon it to try to show. An example being the Joy Luck Club, which I read in high school, has a character, and all the characters like Chinese women who came to America. And I believe one of them had a storyline where they talked about their husband and how abusive he was. And they were a match-made husband. It's not like they were put together by voluntary means. They were put together involuntarily, and sort of how he treated her in an abusive manner. And that was part of her character arc. And that was in high school. We read a story like that in high school. But if you were to like write that story out and you were to tag it, you know, some people would say, well, the rape tag should be in there because it's a story element. Just because a story contains such things. For instance, when I said especially heinous, Law and Order SVU, like that entire show would have to be tagged with the content thing of rape. So in essence, if you watch an episode of Law and Order SVU, you're technically tolerating it as a concept in which you consume. It's not like you're saying, I don't want to see anything about this at all, because it warns you. It's like this content is in that way, like, and it lets you know off the get-go that it's going to be talking about those dark concepts. So, you know, viewer beware. If you don't want to deal with that, turn off the channel. Like, don't look at it. But there are individuals like this sort of thing needs to be discussed in that sort of light. Now, obviously, this is a furry website, and there are stories in there that go to very dark places with that, and they don't do it in a more objective sort of way. But I guess in the short of the hand is that politicians should probably follow the Zool rule here. And what I mean by the Zool rule is, if somebody asks you about rape, you say hates. No, do not put it in the tolerate section. Hates. Put it in the hate section. I hate that shit. Most of the fetishes, put it in the hate section. Just do it. I mean, that's the Zool rule. You don't want to get zapped because you don't construe what the heck these tagging systems means. Myself, personally, somewhat joking aside, I don't use these sort of systems. I don't do it. I don't use these sort of like wear your fetishes on your sleeve systems, I call them. I don't do that because it's way too easy to misconstrue. It's way too personal. It's like, is there any such thing as mystery anymore? Like going up to a person and not knowing them and learning about them as a person before you learn about that stuff? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm an old-fashioned Roo. I mean, I don't know. But you know, it's like a shame that people have to restrict themselves, you know, for the positions. But politicians know that when they go into that position, they got a target on their back. There are enemies out there who are going to look for anything and anything to use against you. And you need to do your due diligence to make sure that you're not giving your opponent ammunition in order to stifle your ability to do your job. And I think that the chairman in this case probably felt that that was what was going on here, and he didn't want to distract from his party objectives. So he decided to put himself aside and let somebody else run. That, and he's a gray muzzle. He might be saying, well, it's my time to sort of back out of this position and maybe let somebody else take a shot at it. You know, his reasons are his own. I've actually put out a questionnaire to the individual of Scott Chaplin, and you know, let out a few questions, and hopefully he answers them. And if they do, I'll put it on my on Flayra in written form after I figure out sort of what it is. But I think the end of the day, I think the most important thing is this: is we need to make sure that our GUIDs are clear and concise and don't lead to any confusion on what the functionality of them do. Because literally, I believe that the confusion and the ambiguity in this functionality, which, by the way, you basically admit it's ambiguous. Like here, it's like tag filtering and likes and dislikes, and then you literally go to the page, and it literally basically has a disclaimer up top saying, well, this active tag stuff has nothing to do with the stuff at the bottom. So the question, as a GUID designer, as somebody who has had classes in graphical user interfaces, the question is, why don't you make them separate pages? Two separate links that go to two separate things. because one has nothing to do with the other. And also, for the love of all that's holy, please make sure that people realize that the stuff that they put at the bottom here is going to be public knowledge. Because there is nothing on this webpage that indicates that the stuff you put in here is going to be public knowledge. Because literally, the stuff that you put on that bottom is part of your profile. It literally goes on the second tab. It's not part of your main screen profile, so you're not going to see the effects of it immediately. But if you take a close look and you look at the thing on the likes and the dislikes thing, you're going to find that button, and then you're going to see, oh, well, all that stuff I put there that I thought was about tagging and filtering content is all of a sudden posted for everyone to see. And literally, especially since the disclaimer at the top sort of indicates that, you know, that these active tags won't be seen, which sort of implies that the stuff at the bottom is going to be public knowledge, but it's not explicitly stated. So there's this sort of like idea that this whole thing might have been private. And I wonder, in my mind, I really do wonder if poor Scott Chaplin was a victim of this poor GUI design. If the GUI design led to somebody, a politician, losing their job. And I think that's why it's important that we make GUI design choices that protect the users and make sure that the users know what they're getting into when they're making profile changes. So anyways, as far as the event itself, I guess there's to a lot of furries, it's impacted a lot of people in many different ways. Are you changing the way you behave as a furry online based upon this particular incident with this chairman? Kick a comment in the comment section about that. Kick the like button if you like this video. Kick the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this on a regular basis. And I'm going to get the hop out of here. Thank you very much for watching. And for those of you in the Florida area, if you're still in the Florida area when this video airs, I really, and my thoughts and prayers really do go out to you. I write furry obits all the time, and I don't want to write any more this year. I don't. And I would be very depressed to have to write another one. I don't like writing them. I do write them every once in a while. I don't want to have to write any obits dealing with this. So I do hope that you get through everything safe and sound, as it were. But anyways, with that note, I'm gonna get the hop out of here. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.